Hey, it's Laura. Just want to make a somewhat quick video to help somebody out there who might be in the buying process of either a piano or a keyboard, and I wanted to give you the pros and cons of each and then my personal use of each of them, because as you can see, I've got both a keyboard and my baby back there, and I use them both. I want to say equally, definitely more piano. And yeah, so I want to keep it as short as possible without skimping on any important details. So here we go. Okay, so the first point, being a classically trained pianist and a piano instructor, is if you are looking to be classically trained and to play classical music, definitely want to go with a piano. So if that's possible, obviously it does not have to be a grand, you can go with an upright. But if at all possible, I would start on one of those pianos as soon as possible. The weight of the keys is going to be heavier and it's going to be better for your technical development. So I know people who have played on a keyboard for years and all their piano training was on a keyboard, and then they went to play the same pieces on a piano. They had trouble. That would be so painful. Imagine going through all that training for years and then you just can't play your same pieces with the same abilities, like the same strength on a piano. That is such a waste of so much time and effort. So at least at the 2-year mark of your piano studies, plan to get a piano. The sound on a piano is also going to be a lot bigger, obviously, right? So it's going to fill the entire room, the entire house with the music that you're playing. So this could be a good thing or a bad thing, but just something to keep in mind, that acoustic sound is going to be louder. So either put, some kind of like rug, not rug on the piano, but rug underneath the piano, and maybe some blankets on top of the piano will actually tone down the sound a little bit. So another reason why I absolutely love the piano and recommend the piano whenever possible is its ability to express. So a piano's dynamic ability is going to be so much more than any keyboard ever, okay? What I mean by that is you're going to be able to play softer more easily and play louder more easily. There's a bigger range of how loud and soft you can play each key. On the keyboard, on the good keyboards, they do have that range. It's called touch sensitivity, which you definitely want to look for no matter what. Weighted keys and touch sensitivity. You will be able to still have that in a keyboard, but it is just unmatched when it comes to the piano. So there's something about the piano, and maybe, I'm sure I'm not the only one here, but I feel like it's a lot more earthy and like I feel more grounded playing with the piano because it is acoustic and you're not plugging it into the wall like a digital keyboard. I just feel like we're so plugged in so many ways that it's just nice to kind of get away from all of that and just sit at the piano and be able to make music without having to have yet another digital interface. So it's another big plus for me, and like I mentioned, the ability to express more deeply. So one, I guess downside, I don't want to say there's any downside to piano, but I guess there are a couple, right? So things like cost, they're going to be more expensive unless you find like a really good deal. Generally, a piano is going to cost more than a keyboard. Obviously, the space it takes, sometimes people like that though. A lot of times we use pianos as just a decorative piece of furniture. I know people who have pianos who don't even play just because it looks beautiful. So there's that. But there's also this point of making sure that you maintain the instrument. So it does have to be maintained. You do have to get it tuned every 6 months or so is a good rule of thumb. So that is an added cost, but I actually really enjoy the tuning sessions because I always end up talking to the piano technician and they teach me so much about the instrument. So it's kind of like piano school for a day, like 1 or 2 days out of the year, which is, I think, fun. You get to learn more about it. So I like that. But it is an added cost and another thing to be on top of. And one more thing about the piano. So this kind of goes into the expression, but the pedal on the piano is going to work infinitely better than the pedal on a keyboard. So even if you get the really good kind of pedals for the keyboards, it's just not going to ring out as much and as richly as the pedal on a piano. onto the keyboards. So I had mentioned about the maintenance on the piano. Obviously, a keyboard's always going to be tuned, which is great. You don't have to worry about that. You don't need to maintain it. And you can adjust the volume. So we talked about how the piano's kind of loud. You can just turn the dial really low. Doesn't matter who else is in the house or what time it is for your neighbors. You can just play at any hour of the day. Now, side note, they do have pianos now that are a hybrid, and they're both digital keyboard and piano in one, which is just crazy. You can look into them. They tend to be very expensive, but and you can also have your piano turned into a digital keyboard as well. I don't know too much about that. I've never personally had that done, but it's something to look into if you were interested, because then you get the best of both worlds, right? Another good point about the keyboard is you get a lot of fun sounds. Like there's a synthesizer in there, and I don't think you can see it. I don't want to move the camera because it's in a good place right now. But there's a whole bunch of, buttons here, and you could change the sound of the whatever sound comes out. So instead of just getting a piano sound, you can get a harpsichord sound, you can get a bass, a guitar. Like it's really fun if you're just kind of trying to mess around or like write some music. Another big point for the keyboard is it can be used as a MIDI controller. So if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. But if you do, that's obviously going to be a pro because you can connect it to the computer just with one simple wire, and whatever you play can be written into a program on your computer, and then you could edit it, you could do all kinds of stuff with it. You could even change the sounds of it after. What I mean by that is if you want to write let's say you're writing a song and you're writing all the parts. If you wanted to write like the guitar part, you can play it on the piano, and then after you have like the notes programmed into the computer, you'll be able to change the instruments. A couple more things. If you're trying to do like a live, like a Facebook Live, and play for people, you're going to get a much cleaner sound on the keyboard. So even if you mic up the piano, first of all, it's a headache. I've tried it, and then it's still like never perfect because you're always going to get like a tiny bit of like that background sound, like your neighbor's vacuuming, and then like somehow you kind of hear that. We have no need to do that these days to mic up a piano. You can just connect the keyboard to the computer, record your part, and then now we have softwares like, I think the one I just got was CFX, oh my gosh, I'm forgetting it, Garriton CFX Grand, I think that's what it's called. And it pretty much, using the different sounds they have on there and the ability to adjust certain things, you can make it sound like an actual piano. And they've tested this, and even like concert pianists, like professionals, most of them can't tell the difference between if it's a real piano recording or the digital recording. So I think that's really awesome. And personally, when I record music, piano tracks, I use the keyboard 100,000%. So the last point for the keyboard is you can take it on your gigs. So unless you've got your roadies and you're in a band and somebody's doing the work for you, we really don't tend to move our pianos to go to gigs, right? We just take the keyboard. So I personally have like 3 keyboards. This is just one of them. Depending on what gig it is, I'll just throw the keyboard in the car and pretty much ready to go. So pretty much just to summarize, for me, just how I use them. For the piano, that is my number one instrument. That's how I do most of my practice. I do all my scales, exercises, all the pieces that I play are going to be on the piano. So all of my like work, my practice work, even if it's like a pop song that I'm going to try to record on the computer, my practice for it is always done on the piano. As I talked about, the weighted keys is kind of a big deal, makes a big difference. So that's that. When I write music, sometimes I will use the keyboard mostly just to get the other kind of sounds. Like you can get a whole bunch of different even piano sounds, which is kind of fun. But if I'm not really in the mood for that, I just always default to my baby grand. And then for the keyboard, when I practice with a band or my band, which I'm still looking to get together, I'll use the keyboard. Again, you don't have to mic up the piano. Usually the piano gets so drowned out in any band, so it's really good to have just a straight wire from the keyboard to the amp, because then you can make it as loud as you want and it'll still be a clean sound. So band stuff, if I'm performing, like I said, if I have to take my instrument, I will take the keyboard. And that's pretty much it. So just to leave you with one more tip, whatever you're going to buy, for pianos, I generally recommend you buy a used one. I do not recommend buying a new piano. Please take my advice. Don't buy a brand new piano. There's no need to pay all that extra, because pianos can last like a century and more if you take good care of it. And if you're looking to get a keyboard, either new or used will work. So if you're like kind of worried about the warranty and that kind of thing, just go get a new one. You can get a pretty solid one for $400 to $500. I always recommend the Yamaha P series. All of the Yamaha P series are weighted, touch sensitive, and they're really good. There's like this little bit of pushback you get on a really good keyboard, which automatically you get on a piano, but some keyboards have it, some don't. The P series are really good. I generally would tend not to want to perform on them or even record music on them, but that's me at a professional level. So again, if you're just a beginner, intermediate, that's a great starter keyboard. That's pretty much all I got for you today. If you like this video, give me a thumbs up and don't forget to subscribe. So thank you for watching. I hope this was helpful, and leave a comment below saying which you're gonna get, piano or keyboard, and why. Thanks again. Have a great day.